TENDAI MWARI, yes, in the words of our divine ancestors, to the spirit of Baba YOSEF Alfredo Antonio Ben JOCHANNAN, may his soul rise on the wings of Ma'at, rise like Ra on the wings of Ma'at, after a favorable judgment in the council of Asar. Ashe, Asheu, Amen Ra, TENDAI MWARI. And I close with the words of the most eminent prophet and king, His Excellency Marcus Mosiah Garvey. African people, unite, organize now or perish. Rise, you mighty African people, for you can accomplish whatever you will. Rumbitso kunamwari Africa. To the God of Africa be the glory.
Amun, Amun, Amun. Hetep Unamastu. We bow to the divine in you. Thank you so much.
There was empires in Africa called Kush, Timbuktu, where every race came to get books. My success to you, even if you wish me the opposite. Sooner or later, we'll all see who the prophet is.
I ain't at my political party. How I see my sisters and aunties. Alkebu-Lan, that's the whole.
But time, as we tend to say, is not with us. That's not a correct statement. But we do say it, meaning that we are not in rhythm, we're not in sequence with the time, or we're not coping well with the limitations of time that have been imposed upon us because of the unnatural circumstances that we find ourselves in. Are you all with me, brothers and sisters? So we're going to move into the ritual of the pouring of libation. Suffice to say that this ritual is as old as Mama Africa itself. It is the invocation of the spirit of Muslim Mukuru, our great ancestors, without whom we would not be here today. Is that right, brothers and sisters? Because Africans have understood long time ago that we are spiritual beings before we are physical beings. Is that right, brothers and sisters?
Great celebration for the noble Grandmaster Teacher, the Baba Ben JOCHANNAN, yeah, YOSEF Ben JOCHANNAN, and we have with us the spiritual leader of the Alkebu-Lan Revivalist movement, who put on a great memorial for our Grand Master Teacher, Baba YOSEF Ben JOCHANNAN. We have with us brother leader MBandaka, TENDAI MWARI, my brother.
TENDAI MWARI, my beloved brother.
Yeah, it was really was a moving ceremony that you performed upstairs, and one of the things that you explained to the audience, or to those who made time out in their busy schedule to come down and join us today, was the importance of doing today's ceremony. Would you like to let the masses who's viewing this around the world know the importance of the ceremony we just done today?
TENDAI MWARI. Well, give thanks and praises. Let me just say, first of all, give thanks. We say, Africa. To the God of Africa be the glory. We're giving thanks and praises for what you have quite rightly said was a fantastic day of celebration of the life of this fantastic African human being. In addition to a celebration of life, it was giving due honor to a fantastic human being. When the nation of Africans domiciled here in the UK, we simply say Africa UK. Africans, the African nation in the UK, came out in our numbers this evening to say thank you to Baba Ben for a monumental legacy of upliftment, empowerment, a monumental legacy of reconstructing the history of African people, and in that context reconstructing the minds of African people so we can free ourselves mentally and spiritually from oppression. Now I'll come to your question, which was why was this so important? You see, all great people celebrate the most outstanding contributors to their history. And we say without any doubt that this fantastic elder, Baba Yosef ben JOCHANNAN, made outstanding contributions to the history of African people. And we're getting ourselves back into good habits. We're seeing ourselves as a nation again, and we realize that this is how a nation responds when one so great, one who has given so much to the people, has now transitioned to the realm of the ancestors, and the people must gather and must celebrate the life of that one, must give thanks for the works and the sacrifices of that one, and must give due honor and praise. So that's what we did tonight. And in so doing, you know, we have children there. We are indicating to our children our own value system. We are telling them what character, the kind of works that we would celebrate as a people. And all children like to be recognized and like to be celebrated. So if they want to be a hero or a shiro, then they know what to do. TENDAI MWARI.
I love the way that you put the whole libation together and was walking everyone through the libations, yeah, and we was all giving a joyful noise to the Creator, to the Most High, to that creative force, to the ancestors, on behalf of Yosef ben JOCHANNAN. One of the key things your keynote speaker, Robin Walker, said when he was here was the influence that Dr. Ben JOCHANNAN has had on the field of academia, Egyptologists in the field of academia, and also as well the impact he has had on many of us as African scholars, African researchers. Could you expound on some of the impact Dr. Ben has had in your life in bringing you to where you're at this present time as a spiritual leader of the Alkebu-Lan movement?
TENDAI MWARI, you answer the question yourself. Spiritual leader of what?
The Alkebu-Lan movement.
Alkebulan Revivalist movement. Well, where did we learn about Alkebulan?
Dr. Ben JOCHANNAN.
Absolutely, absolutely. This was in 1987. One of the founder members of the Alkebulan Revivalist movement, a brother by the name of Ras Kamawaize Mebrato Noe, close brother of mine, who was a joint founder and joint spiritual leader of this movement in its foundation, was already introduced to the works of Baba Ben even before I was. This is going back into the 1980s, because our movement was founded in 1987. And by the way, before I go any further, you mentioned Brother Robin Walker, our keynote speaker this evening. What a national treasure he is. And he also was inspired by Baba Ben,
As he said,
as he has attested himself. So coming back to our beloved founder, joint founder member, Brother Ras Kamawaize, he was the person that when we sat down to discuss this organization, this movement that we wanted to start and what name we wanted to give it, he was the person that introduced the name Alkebulan and brought in the teachings of Baba Ben so that we could give it consideration. And you can see that we, through the power of the works, as it was introduced to us, as it was taught to us, we realized that this is an inspiration that should be at the core of the formation and the founding of this movement. And so we called it the Alkebulan Revivalist movement, Alkebulan being one of the oldest names on historical record for the African continent, representing the African land and people before we were invaded, conquered, and enslaved. So we're talking about quintessential African essence that we want to revive. So we call it Alkebulan Revivalist. And movement is our objective to launch ourselves into a mass social force and political force and spiritual force that will permeate the entire African world and lift the entire African world people to the level of liberating ourselves. That's our vision.
The eloquent words you use show the legacy if you like, of Dr. YOSEF Ben YOCHANNAN, and not only does it show his legacy, how can we continue that legacy? I mean, we've met today to celebrate his life. How is the way forward to make sure Dr. Ben will never ever be forgotten? And as you said, there was a lot of young children there today who were enthralled by the whole ceremony that you was delivering today. So the legacy, how can we make it continue to make sure that the world knows about this noble, renowned scholar?
TENDAI MWARI. Baba Ben's legacy can never die. Baba Ben's spirit can never die. There's not an African on the planet who can truly call themselves a conscious African, a freedom fighter whose life was not touched in some way by this great, eminent scholar, warrior scholar. I'll just give you an example of the Alkebulan Revivalist movement. So anyone that's passed through the Alkebulan Revivalist movement has been touched by the majesty and the magnificence of Baba Ben. Yeah? And then, you know, we talk about Robin Walker. Do we as Africa, UK, realize and recognize what a supremely brilliant scholar, MWARI, Nyakusika, God the Creator, Mudimoko, the great ancestors, had blessed us with in this nation? That's why I refer to him as a national treasure. That's what he is. Yeah? And look at the work that he's doing. Look at that colossus that he authored called When We Ruled. Have we taken a look at that monumental piece of product? Documentation of our history. And ask ourselves for one moment, the love that goes into, you know, producing a piece of work like that. When we see our brother present, the pride, the dignity, that not only that he feels, but he injects in us in the way he presents his work. That's Baba Ben's legacy. He mentioned a brother named Femi Biko. That's a brother, when I came on Liberation Road in 1983, he was already on the road. You know, he did a lot of fundamentally good work in starting the African studies classes that he did, and taught many like Robin Walker, yeah, in our community. Again, that's a legacy. And we hear about Ashra Kwesi. You know, this is an international icon. Yes. And he himself gives thanks to Baba Ben and bows to Baba Ben. Anthony Browder, Leonard Jeffries, they all attest to having been inspired by Baba Ben. So such a legacy can never ever die. But the best way that we can really celebrate, value, and perpetuate that legacy, of course we must study the works that he has done. Buy the books, read the books, teach the work, and teach the lessons that he taught us. But most importantly, ask ourselves, what was his vision? What was Baba Ben, what was his mission in life? And his mission was not just to teach for the sake of teaching. He wanted to inspire us to do something different as African people that would empower and liberate us. So the best way that we can vindicate his work is in our doing, is what we do with the work that he has left us. The tremendous lessons, the information, the knowledge is what we do with it that will really determine how the preservation of the legacy, and will really fully vindicate the legacy. That's all the sacrifices that we mentioned earlier on in the eulogy, that he suffered, you know,
for a number of years, yeah.
For many years. He was vilified. He suffered death threats, yeah, lies, all the lies that have been told about this, the character assassination, the actual assassination attempt. He talks about being shot at, yeah. He lost one of his sons, who was killed in very suspicious circumstances. What was all that sacrifice for? Yeah, he demonstrated to us he was prepared to pay the ultimate sacrifice, because he never shortchanged us. So the question is, how do we repay that sacrifice, that level of sacrifice, and we repay it not so much in what we say, but in what we do with it, with the legacy.
That's well said. What next for the Alkebu-Lan Revivalist movement? Because I must say this was a very well put together, very successful event at short notice, and as always, by the grace of the ancestors, the will of the Most High, we managed to pull it off. What next have you got coming forth for conscious minds and other minds who we're trying to, and hearts we're trying to touch and reach at this present time?
TENDAI MWARI. Well, as you know, the Alkebulan Revivalist movement is at the center of establishing the Interim National African People's Parliament. We're involved with that, and that is a nation. That's a nationwide independent representative body that is designed to promote, preserve, and protect the best interests of African people here in the UK, very much like other groups of people in this country have their national representative body.
They do. The Jewish has their council, yeah. Hindus have their council, everyone has their representative, apart from we seem to want to join up with everybody else, but everybody else don't want us in their party.
Absolutely, and really, ultimately, it's about organizing ourselves as a nation of people. And when we talk about a nation, it is about a group of people organized as a sovereign cultural and political entity. This is the Garveyite vision. Papa Garvey said, wherever we find ourselves, anywhere on the planet, we must organize ourselves as a nation. Yeah, and that is what is natural to all people, because of the history that we have been through: slavery, colonialism, neocolonialism. We have been conditioned to disregard or undervalue the importance of organizing ourselves, being self-governed, being self-reliant, being self-determining, because the very nature of slavery and colonialism is one of dispossession. It dispossesses us. It is one of undermining our capacity to be self-generated, to be
self-determining. It's as if we've given up, or we want to give up our political rights, our economic rights, our spiritual rights, well said, brother leader, and our natural most high given rights as well. It's as if we're happy to give it up and let somebody else direct us at this present.
Absolutely, and we must take back. That is our power that we're giving over to someone else. That's our power that we're giving to the enemy. There's a saying, you know, the strength of the oppressor lies not in his power, but in the weakness of the oppressed. So it is our tendency to assume a posture of weakness that allows the enemy to ride our backs. What we need to do is stand up, and not to stand up as an individual, but stand up as a nation, stand up as a collective of people. And so a lot of our energy as a movement goes into building the Interim National African People's Parliament, and we have a very important meeting. I'm sure you know about it, coming up next Imani Day, not tomorrow, Saturday, but the following Saturday, 25th of April. We call it the General People's Assembly. That would be at Queen Mother Moore School in Clapham. And we would want to encourage the entire Africa UK, the entire nation, to come to that event, where we have some very important issues to discuss, some unfortunate developments within EnAnkh recently. We want to update our community and also correct some misinformation that has been put out in the community, as well as present our recovery and forward plan for EnAnkh. So that's one of the many things that that as a movement we have in store. We have our young people doing good work. They're very excited. They're very determined to make the mark, especially amongst the younger generation. They call themselves the Army, Alkebulan Revivalist Movement Youth. So, you know, recently they organized the OMX Storm, which was a cultural storm. It was a cultural explosion right here in this building. So the young visionaries who are doing some excellent work, but we just want to bring our people, most importantly, back to the way, back to our spiritual cultural traditions as Africans, that when we gather for events like these, we know that we don't have to copy somebody else's tradition to vindicate and authenticate ourselves, that we have our own traditions. We draw from the wellspring of our ancestral wisdom, and we use that to guide the way we organize every aspect of our lives. TENDAI MWARI.
As an African person, as a spiritual being, I'd like to thank you personally, for leading the eulogy and giving libations and celebrating with us and putting on the whole event to celebrate the life of one of our great grandmaster teachers, Baba, Dr. YOSEF Ben JOCHANNAN. Thank you very much, Brother Leader, for taking time out to give a interview to the UK's #1 conscious platform. We are GKTV or Gotkushtv. Thank you very much indeed. You just like to say, get them all locked into Gotkushtv.
TENDAI MWARI, indeed, get them all. All the people must be locked into Gotkushtv. Gotkushtv. Yes, the great work that is being done in Gotkushtv.
That's us.
Yes, sir. And you know, I mean, that is that camera is like the Uchat, the eye of Heru, the all-seeing eye, and that's Gotkushtv, the all-seeing eye.
I said the revolution wouldn't be televised, but we beg to differ.
Well, in fact, as a movement, we've been saying that for some time. This revolution will be televised, yeah? Because we are now the masters of our own destiny. When we understand that, then we know that every aspect of life must be covered by our empowered selves. You know, we don't leave anything to chance, and we certainly don't leave it to anybody else to do it for us or to give us guidance as to how to do it. Because all people want to be the best, the #1 in the world, yes? But there was only one people that were created first, and that was us. So for anybody to be #1 in the world, they have to kick us off our throne. And in order to having kicked us off our throne, they have to keep us off our throne. Yeah? So we've got to reconstruct that throne. And then when we reconstruct the throne, sit on it, so nobody else can occupy it.
Revolute the minds back to the throne. So when we talk about revolution, we talk about revolution of the minds, which is very much needed. One of our spiritual leaders out here for Africans in the diaspora, Brother Leader MBandaka, you want to say?
TENDAI MWARI, yes, in the words of our divine ancestors, to the spirit of Baba Yosef Alfredo Antonio Ben JOCHANNAN, may his soul rise on the wings of Ma'at, rise like Ra on the wings of Ma'at, after a favorable judgment in the council of Asar. Ashe, Asheo, Amen Ra, TENDAI MWARI. And I close with the words of the most eminent prophet and king, His Excellency Marcus Messiah Garvey. African people, unite, organize now or perish. Rise, you mighty African people, for you can accomplish whatever you will. Rumbitso Kunamwari Africa. To the God of Africa be the glory.
Amun, Amun, Amun. Hetep Unamastu. We bow to the divine in you. Thank you so much.
There was empires in Africa called Kush, Timbuktu, where every race came to get books. My success to you, even if you wish me the opposite. Sooner or later, we'll all see who the prophet is.
TENDAI MWARI, yes, in the words of our divine ancestors, to the spirit of Baba Yosef Alfredo Antonio Ben JOCHANNAN, may his soul rise on the wings of Ma'at, right, be the glory.
Amun, Amun, Amun. Hetep Unamastu. We bow to the divine in you. Thank you so much.
There was empires in Africa called Kush, Timbuktu, where every race came to get books. My success to you, even if you wish me the opposite. Sooner or later, we'll all see who the prophet is.
I ain't at my political parties. How I see my sisters and aunties. Alkebu-Lan, that's the
like Ra on the wings of Ma'at, after a favorable judgment in the council of Asar. Ashe, Asheo, Amen Ra, TENDAI MWARI. And I close with the words of the most eminent prophet and king, His Excellency Marcus Mosiah Garvey. African people, unite, organize now or perish. Rise, you mighty African people, for you can accomplish whatever you will. Rumbitso Kunamwari Africa, to the God of Africa.
But time, as we tend to say, is not with us. That's not a correct statement. But we do say, meaning that we are not in rhythm, we're not in sequence with the time, or we're not coping well with the limitations of time.